In today's video, we'll see the last method, the third method, which is inter-VLAN routing via layer 3 switch using SVI, the switched virtual interface, or multi-layer switch. So the SVI is a logical interface that provides the switching and the routing capabilities. So if one VLAN wants to communicate with another VLAN, a virtual interface can be created and the traffic can be routed without even using the router. SVI basically act as the default gateway to route the traffic to the other VLAN. Just for the note, if the VLAN has to be routed to the internet, then a router is connected and make the switch port as the routed using the command no switch port and can be assigned IP addresses on the layer 3 switch. So since we're using the layer 3 switch here, so I would like to state the difference between the layer 2 and the layer 3 switch. So the layer 2 switch will forward the frame inside the LAN, but the layer 3 switch will forward the IP packets between the VLANs. So before we jump into any of the config changes, let's see some set of rules that must be followed as a good practice when using SVI. Let me paste it here. So as you see here, the VLANs, when you're using the SVI, the VLANs must be present in the switch, must have access on the trunk port to the other switch. The VLANs must not be shut down. The SVI that you create as for the layer 3 must not be shut down. And last but not least, you should enable the IP routing in order to route the traffic between the VLANs. So I don't have to explain much about the topology. It's the same topology that we have been using. So I will configure this from the scratch. So in order to configure as per the topology, I'll go to the first switch. All right, for the switch 1, enable show VLAN. As we see, there is no VLANs. Configure from the scratch. So go to the config, VLAN 10, sorry, VLAN 20, name ID, set, interface range. We'll assign the first two PCs in the VLAN 10. I think it would be a better idea if I just state the VLANs here. So I will VLAN 10. So now we can go ahead and configure the first two interface as an access port and also assign the interface to the VLAN 10. I'm going to use interface range command, Ethernet 0/0 to 1, switch port mode access, switch port access VLAN 10, and the other two interfaces from 2 to 3, switch port mode access VLAN 20. And last but not least, we have to configure the trunk port as well. So interface E1/0, switch port trunk, and it will not work. Since it's layer 3, we must assign switch port trunk encapsulation .1q switch port. It's done. We'll verify everything that we have configured here and save the config, show VLAN. We have created VLAN 10 and 20 and associated the interfaces to the VLAN, and show interface trunk, and it's in the trunking state. When it's done, we will do the same config on the switch 2, the respective VLAN 10 and 20 and the respective interfaces. There's no VLAN, we'll just create the VLAN 10 now. VLAN 10 star 20 name ID. Use the interface range command from Ethernet 0/0 to 1, switch port mode access, switch port access VLAN 10, 223, assign access, and assign them in the VLAN 20. It's done. Exit from the range command, and also we'll configure the trunk port, interface E1/0, switch port, trunk encapsulation .1q, switch port mode trunk, and right show VLAN 10 and 20 is created, interfaces were assigned, show interface trunk, and the trunk is also created. So now we don't have router here, so the layer 3 itself will act as a router using the technology called SVI, the switched virtual interface, in which we can create the virtual interface by using the command interface VLAN and the associated VLAN number, VLAN ID, which is interface VLAN 10. And I will assign the IP address of default gateway, which is 92.68.1. No shut. And to route the traffic in VLAN 20, we'll create the VLAN interface VLAN 20 and assign the IP address of 492.68.2.100, which is the default gateway. And we'll say no shut. And save the config, show IP interface brief. And we have created the virtual interface of VLAN 10 and VLAN 20 with the respective default gateway IP. And we have seen that we have to enable the IP routing on the switches to enable the routing. If we do not enable the IP routing and we'll try to ping from VLAN 10 to VLAN 20, it's not going to work. So let me explain it by ping 192.168.2.1. So we are pinging from PC1 to PC5. As you see, it's timed out. I thought it will not work, but still it works. But unfortunately, the thing is, most of the layer 3 switch has to be enabled the routing. If not, it's not going to work. So let me, for the safety purpose, we will enable the routing as well. So in order to enable the routing, we should type IP routing, and write the config. Also on the other switch, we will enable the IP routing by IP routing. And now be able to communicate as it is intended. And also we'll try to ping from PC5, which is in VLAN 20, to PC3, which is in the VLAN 10. So from PC5, 1.3, ping 192.168.1.3. And now it's perfectly working as it is intended. And we have successfully configured the Inter-VLAN routing using layer 3 switch using the technology called switched virtual interface. So hope it's informative for you. Thank you so much for watching. See you guys in the next video. Until then, bye from Rogan.